Ben, it's just really annoying, and it already was before we got to Dega. But here's a guy who maybe didn't learn his lesson after one, nay two slaps on the wrist. Indianapolis, you think you would have felt bad after that. Watkins Glen, you think you may have felt bad after that. Some fines, some docking above points, and just enough. Hey, look, lo and behold, you didn't have enough to make it into the round of eight and into the championship four, and you didn't get to advance. You get a win at Talladega. I think after learning my lesson once and twice, and maybe finally coming to the senses, any sane person here, I feel like would if you win Talladega after this point, you would come back around to the long front stretch, salute the fans, say, can't wait for 2026. Really shot myself in the foot this year. Boy, wish I could take that back. Something like that. Not Austin Hill. Dang it, Bobby comes around there and tells everyone and in the Birmingham area that they are number one.
Oh, I don't know, Jim. I think he actually did kind of salute the fans there. I don't know if you saw that image, Jim, but okay, I'll stop with the Tony Romo
It
impression.
was that solidifies it. I mean, this man is relentless in all the worst possible ways. There is a tweet that I did pick up. I think either today or yesterday that we've got here for you. Credit to Luce's Fast podcast. Again, never heard of these folks, but they are spot on here. At the risk of kicking up a hornet's nest, an open letter to Austin Hill. Take that, haters. Let's go. Small reality check, bud. You're not Denny Hamlin or Kyle Busch. You haven't won so much. We are sick of it. Nobody hates you because you're too good. People, quote unquote, hate you because of you, or at least the version you keep showing us. You're the first to right rear someone or wreck a teammate, then the first to preach about setting an example, only to do it again the following week. It's literally the reason you're not in the playoffs now, and this win means nothing in the grand scheme of things. You're not a heel, you're just a butthead. Congrats on winning Talladega, by the way. So, yeah, I don't hate Austin Hill. Again, Ben, you know me. I'll never say I hate somebody, regardless of their behavior. But they're talking from the fans' perspective. You're disliked strongly because you're not just you're not even a good villain. You're not even a cool villain. You're not Denny Hamlin. You're not legacy Kyle Busch. I'd say Kyle Busch is more on the hero arc nowadays, but the journeyman hero. But you're not even a good villain. You're like Green Goblin, like pushing kids off a bridge. Like you're just mean. You're a bully, and you're not learning your lesson. You're doing actual dangerous things that could kill people. And you've done it not once but twice, and you're not showing any signs of repentance. I mean, it's you can it's like something is like I didn't think but in years previous I did not think Austin Hill was like this is who he is. And I hope it's not who he is. I hope he's just having an off year, something behind the scenes. But I'd love to give him the benefit of the doubt. But he's had a couple of chances, at least in the public eye. Okay, I never met him at Waffle House. At least in the public eye, this is who he's revealed himself to be. You cannot expect people to applaud you or to have any sort of respect for you in the condition that you're showing yourself as right now. So yeah, this is, and it's all your own doing. So congratulations.
I get what you're saying, Brandon, but I do have to point out the sucker punch with Myatt Snyder a few years ago at Martinsville, and I think Austin probably thought that the cameras weren't directly in his face, but I still remember that. You remember the old NBC graphics, NBC EE, and they'd zoom in, and it was all pixelated, but you could clearly tell it was Austin Hill, and you could clearly tell that somebody went down seemingly knocked out cold. I don't know. I feel like if that's who he is when the cameras aren't in front of his face. Again, I've never met him either. I suppose I have been at Sonoma the last several years on the same premises and facility
Been
as
in the
him.
vicinity.
We've never crossed paths. I can't speak to any interactions with him. And yeah, I don't want to. I want to be completely fair when I say that, but I have not seen any evidence to the contrary. I'll put it that way, I guess, that this isn't who he is, regardless of whether or not he's in the public eye or not. So again, and I would even venture to say, Brandon, it goes beyond Indianapolis and Watkins Glen. We saw it at Daytona on the last lap, just completely. I think it was Nick Sanchez in the 48, just door slamming him, and that ultimately led to the last lap crash. I know last lap crashes at super speedways are hardly unheard of, but it still leaves a bit of a sour taste in my mouth what happened there, especially coming off of those two incidents. And then Portland, even though I wasn't there this year, I did get to watch the race and see how he was driving in those closing laps. And can't say I was particularly a huge fan of the driving standards that he showed there either. So again, I think it is fitting. I'm glad that he is not going to be in contention for a driver's title. I'm sure there are very hard-working people on that 21 car that have been swept up in controversy through no fault of their own because of what their driver's done this year. And if they win a championship this year on the owner's side, then good for them, I suppose. Still not a fan of Richard Childress trying to pass his multi-time championship-winning organization with multiple Fortune 500 sponsors off as a blue-collar team that gets given trouble all the time by NASCAR. But I digress. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens in a couple of weeks at Phoenix. But again, Austin Hill certainly missing those 21 playoff points that he would have had because he'd be punching his ticket to the championship 4 at Phoenix. Instead, he's going to have to settle for an owner's championship berth because he is not in the championship 4.
I did have one more thought about Austin Hill, though, before we move on any further.
Sure,
yeah, like as silly as he's been, like this does not take away from his super speedway talent at all for me. And you might disagree with that, but just undeniable talent as far as getting it done on the drafting tracks. And it's just he's chasing history, making history. But the last thing I have for him is a quote from Strip Weathers. You got more talent in one lug nut than a lot of cars have got in their whole body. But you're stupid. I think that goes a long way, even today, for the one Austin Hill.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree with that. It's funny, Brandon. You mentioned going with the shoe-in of Connors Illich, and I was going to come back and say, well, a place like Talladega, it's hard to consider anybody a shoe-in, but I guess
it is.
When you
but that's the place
Austin
they want to
Hill,
sponsor, though.
Yeah, that's for sure. But when you talk about Austin Hill on super speedways in the Xfinity Series, I'm trying to pull up the Cup Series results here. It looks like he ended up 22nd in the Cup race yesterday, so certainly sure he would have preferred to have a little bit of a stronger run in that race. But yeah, I mean, the talent, and we've talked about this on Grid Tonight, I think, with Max Verstappen, who I don't think has been as much of a menace out on the track necessarily as Austin Hill has. He has certainly pushed the envelope of what is clean racing versus not so clean racing. But I can't recall Verstappen ever right rear hooking somebody at 180 miles an hour, with no safer barrier at Indianapolis. But the talent, you can say what you will about his driving standards and his attitude or whatever. It doesn't take away from the talent that he has. And in Austin Hill's case, it is certainly evident that he is, I think, objectively by a mile, the best super speedway racer in the Xfinity Series and has been for years. And it's unfortunate that we don't celebrate that a little bit more often. And I think the reason we don't celebrate that more often is because of incidents like what we've seen throughout this summer. And again, I can only hope that, especially now that he can look back on what he accomplished during the playoffs and think to himself, what might have been, maybe could have been fighting for a championship at Phoenix, a driver's championship, of course, that is. And that's not going to be the case because of what he did earlier this year.